I am a very grateful rabbi for the 3 months of sabbatical time from this congregation that I had this winter. I've had so many wonderful conversations with many in this congregation since returning, and as so many of you know, the time was incredible for me professionally to immerse myself back into life in Israel, take classes, deepen my Jewish learning, expand my Hebrew, and to connect to Reform synagogues and colleagues in Israel and learn of the wonderful things they are doing. But beyond the professional, one of the most incredible parts of sabbatical for us as a family was experiencing Israel with young children. Before we left and we were preparing our kids for daily life in Israel, my husband Greg and I had a hard time determining how much to tell them about the security situation in the country. In the few months before we left, there had been a number of stabbings in Jerusalem where we would be living, and we wanted them to be safe and alert, but we didn't want to scare them. Going abroad, living in a new city, attending school in a new language, all of that is stressful enough for children, all the more so dealing with fears of terror. And so since they were just 6 and 4 years old at the time, we decided we weren't going to worry them with the details. We would take their lead and answer questions as they arose. Of course, they were very taken by all of the IDF soldiers on the streets. But they never asked, why are there armed soldiers on the bus? Why do we have to sit in this separate gate in the Toronto airport? And so we continued in the ignorant bliss of childhood. All of our parenting plans didn't prepare us, though, when we received a notice from the kids' school. On Wednesday, the children were going to participate in a citywide drill to practice the procedures for a rocket attack. Surely we thought this might scare them. So we decided to tell them at dinner the night before what would happen. We sat them down, we explained the next day there was going to be a drill, kind of like a fire drill, and when they hear the siren, just follow your teacher's instructions and follow the rest of your classmates. Before we could finish, Jonah, who was at that time 4, said, "Oh, I know, Mommy. It's for when the rockets come." Greg and I paused and looked at each other. "Oh, so you already know about it. That's good. You know what to do." Jonah looked at us with wide eyes and asked, "Mommy, Daddy, when the rockets come, will we be able to go back to outer space with them?" If only, Jonah, if only. Thank God we never had to go to the shelters for real while we were there. But of course, many of Yael and Jonah's classmates in Jerusalem have spent formational childhood moments in those shelters. We asked our friends in Israel about the security situation. How was it to raise kids with these kinds of threats around you all the time? Many of the families in the school lived in the neighborhood where there had been those stabbing attacks, and they told us about how their kids were terrified of the walks to school for a number of weeks. But they said, you learn to live with the fear and not let it control your life. Though we in North America do not live with the same persistent threat of terror as our brothers and sisters do in Israel, there is no question that our global world is one in which fear is a reality of life. So how do we raise children? How do we handle ourselves living in a world of fear? Fear is a very powerful thing. Fear paralyzes us, it traps us in a lifestyle, it confines us to a path in life that we don't want but can't move from. Fear is a prison of the spirit and enslavement of the mind. Some of us fear spiders. I myself fear heights. Others flying, disease, dying. We fear isolation. We fear conflict. We fear love and the end of love. We fear loneliness. We are scared of being lost in the crowd. We fear change, and we worry things will never change. Many of you in this sanctuary have stood up to and faced down your fears. You've done it from hospital beds and gravesides, in front of your children, your spouse, your boss, your rabbi. Every person has a fear they have confronted and triumphed over. Yet even still, I have never in my life met a fearless person. And we are not alone. As far back as the very beginning of the world, the story of humanity is a story of our continuing struggle with fear. Eve feared the snake. Cain feared Abel. Noah feared God. The story of our people, the story of each person, is really the story of confronting fear time and again, each day over a lifetime. The difficult thing about fear is that it is nearly impossible to avoid. I can't control what scares me in the moment. Fear is a natural, emotional reaction, one that even might be good for us, a way to deal with the reality of the world in which we live. The danger comes when fear takes over, when it dictates our lives, when it becomes unhealthy. The media certainly does not help in this department. After all, fear brings good ratings. But a cycle of fear does not make for healthy society. How many times can we take off our shoes at the airport before we recognize that too much of our daily life is being overrun by fear? Where can we turn then to find a shelter from the overwhelming fear that threatens to take control of our lives? Not surprisingly, fear does have a place within our Jewish tradition. Judaism distinguishes between healthy fear and fear that traps us, keeps us down. Our tradition teaches that the only good kind of fear is Yirat Hashem, the fear of God. But are we really supposed to fear God in the same way we fear infectious disease, terrorism on airplanes, and failure? A wonderful story from the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, the lesser-known version of the Talmud than its Babylonian cousin, helps us understand what it means to fear God. Rabbi Samuel traveled to Rome, the center of the ancient world, the epicenter of political power. While Rabbi Samuel was there, the queen lost a precious bracelet, and Rabbi Samuel found it. This was not just any bracelet, for it belonged to the Queen of Rome, the most powerful queen in the entire world. Meanwhile, a crier went around the kingdom announcing, "Whoever brings back the queen's bracelet within 30 days will receive a great reward. But if the bracelet is found on him after the 30 days, his head will be cut off." Rabbi Samuel did not return the bracelet within the 30 days. But on the 31st day, he brought it back to the queen. She asked him, "Were you not in the kingdom?" He replied, "Yes." "So did you not hear the proclamation?" He answered, "Yes, I did." She asked, "What did the crier say?" And he told her the crier's words. She asked, "Then why did you not return it within the 30 days?" And Rabbi Samuel replied, "So that you would not say that I feared you, but I returned it because I feared God." At which she proclaimed, "Blessed be God." Rabbi Samuel's fear of God prompted him to an act of consciousness. His actions illustrate an awareness of the divine in others. He saw the divinity reflected in the queen not because of her status, but because of her humanity. The story teaches us to act justly no matter whom we face in life and what fearful situation might await us. The word for fear in Hebrew is yirah. As I mentioned earlier, Jewish fear is almost always connected with yirat Hashem, the fear of God. But there is another way of translating that word, yirah, as awe of God and the wonders in the world. Those of you who were here on the second day of Rosh Hashanah heard me speak about awe as it relates to my understanding of God and the scientific underpinnings of the universe. Today, I want to take this concept of awe in a different direction, into the realm of the internal and emotional world of each and every one of us. Because when we see that yirah is fear connected with awe, we see that it is an entirely different kind of fear altogether. Yirah is the feeling that you get that makes you tremble when you look into the night sky and sense the expanse of the universe. Yirah is what makes our knees shake when we are up close to a Torah scroll and realize the ancient weight of its words. Yirah is the humility that a new parent feels when a newborn baby is placed in their arms for the very first time. Yirah is different than simply feeling scared. Hebrew makes a beautiful distinction between feeling scared, feeling frightened. That's pachad. Pachad is walking in a dark place at night, feeling scared something might happen to you, being lost in unfamiliar territory. So this Yom Kippur, can we focus less on pachad, on fright, and bring ourselves more closely into the realm of yirah, the realm of awe? We allow ourselves, when we do that, an opportunity to find holiness in the varied situations in our lives, even the ones that might seem frightening. One of the most remarkable modern Jewish thinkers who writes about the topic of fear is Rabbi Naomi Levi. She has a number of beautiful books on the subject, and I was recently recalling one of the metaphors she used in her most recent book, Hope Will Find You, which is a book about how she dealt with her fear when her daughter Noah was diagnosed with a serious illness. She has an anecdote about her daughter's 12th birthday party, which Noah insisted be held at a rock climbing gym. Rabbi Levi was terrified about her daughter's physical stamina to be able to climb a rock wall. This is what she wrote. To my amazement, she pushed with her legs and pulled with her arms and boldly made her way up the wall. It wasn't easy, but she climbed and climbed. She was fearless, beaming with joy. During the party, I looked across the gym, and there was a boy about Noah's age who was too frightened to climb. His father was encouraging him, but he stood frozen in his place. His muscles were strong, but fear was stronger still. That day, my daughter taught me an invaluable lesson. Our greatest disability is fear. Our greatest strength is courage. In climbing, it's the smoothest surface that is the most treacherous. Just imagine what it would be like to scale a polished marble wall. A rough, rocky landscape is fertile ground for ascension. I told myself, if you want to rise up, don't fear the bumps. Turn every stone into a step. A famous statement was made by a Hasidic rabbi, and we actually sang it in our Hakafah with the Torah, about overcoming the frightening feeling of pachad. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov tells us, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od. The whole world is a very narrow bridge. V'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. And the most important thing is not to be completely afraid. That one word in the sentence, klal, means completely, at all. Rabbi Nachman is telling us not to be consumed by fear. Fear itself is okay and natural, but the ikar, the essence, is lo lefached klal, not to be completely afraid. Do not let fear keep you from living, from crossing that bridge. Rabbi Nachman himself was no stranger to fear. When he made his observation about the world being a narrow bridge, he himself had just endured a fearful and harrowing experience. He wanted to travel to the land of Israel, a journey that in his time, in the medieval age, was fraught with peril and hardship. Thus, at great personal risk, he made the journey to the land of Israel, but it cost him his life's fortune. He was held hostage. His boat was nearly lost at sea, not once but twice. But in the end, he made it. Nachman teaches through his own example that the product of a courageous act is not only the conquering of fear, but the perspective of renewed hope, which comes when we free up our souls from those things that so constrict and constrain the very essence of our being. When we confront and subdue our fears, we give ourselves the freedom and the ability to dream again. Anything becomes possible. The whole world may indeed be a very narrow bridge, but when curiosity and courage triumph over fear, hope springs, and we desire only to keep walking, moving forward. On Yom Kippur, we come together to confront our fear. We acknowledge our habitual avoidance of that which makes us afraid, and we see the connection between the avoidance of fear and hurting other people and ourselves. These are the days of awe, of yirah, the yamim noraim, in which we seek an awareness of the humble nature of our origins and our destination. This Yom Kippur, may we dedicate ourselves to living a life filled with yirah, in which, facing our fears, we come to find a life filled with reverence and awe. Kei nihi ratzon. May it be God's will.
Kol haolam kulo gesher tzar meod, gesher tzar meod, gesher tzar meod. Kol haolam kulo gesher tzar meod, gesher tzar meod. V'haikar העיקר לא לפחד כלל, והעיקר